The transport ship descended through the artificial atmosphere of Prism 7, its sleek silver hull reflecting the light of 3 distant suns. Inside the diplomatic bay, Corporal stood at attention with the rest of the honor guard. His uniform was pressed, his posture perfect, but his jaw was tight. Today, the overseer was arriving, and everyone knew what that meant. More rules, more restrictions, more reminders that Earth had lost the war. Had fought in that war. He remembered the burning cities, the screams, the way the sky turned red when the warships fired their main cannons. He remembered holding his dying father in the ruins of Seoul, promising him that humanity would survive. They had survived, but at a terrible cost. The treaty they signed gave the control over trade, movement, and policy. Earth was no longer free. The ship's door opened with a hiss of pressurized air. A tall figure emerged, flanked by armored guards. Princess of House stepped onto the platform, her silver skin gleaming under the station lights. She wore flowing robes of deep purple, and her eyes were the color of ice. She looked at the assembled humans the way someone might look at insects. Ambassador Park stepped forward, bowing respectfully. She was a small woman with gray hair and tired eyes. "Your Highness, welcome to Prism 7. We are honored by your presence." Did not return the bow. She looked down at Ambassador Park with barely concealed disgust. "I am not honored to be here," she said, her voice cold and clear. "This assignment is beneath me. Overseeing primitives who barely understand space travel is not a task worthy of imperial blood." Felt his hands clench into fists behind his back. He forced himself to breathe slowly. Discipline, control. Those were the things that kept him alive during the war, and they would keep him alive now. Ambassador Park's face remained calm, though saw the slight tremble in her hands. "We hope to prove ourselves worthy of cooperation, Your Highness." "Cooperation," laughed a sharp sound without warmth. "You do not cooperate with animals. You train them. You control them. That is what I am here to do." She walked past the ambassador without another word, her guards following close behind. The next few weeks were difficult. Princess wasted no time implementing new restrictions. Human ships could only travel on approved routes. Markets could only sell approved goods. Even the number of people allowed in public spaces was limited. The guards enforced these rules with brutal efficiency. Watched it all from his post at the embassy. His job was to provide security for human diplomats and ensure no incidents occurred. It was boring work, but it was important. Every day, he saw the strain on Ambassador Park's face as she tried to negotiate better conditions. Every day, she was rejected. One afternoon, was walking through the market district when he heard shouting. He pushed through the crowd and saw a human merchant on the ground, blood streaming from his nose. 2 guards stood over him, their weapons drawn. "Please," the merchant begged in broken, "I did not know. The permits, they were supposed to arrive yesterday." "Ignorance is not an excuse," one guard said, kicking the man in the ribs. Stepped forward before he could stop himself. "That is enough," he said in clear. He had learned the language during the war. "Know your enemy," his father had taught him. The guards turned to face him. "This does not concern you, human." "He has been punished enough," said calmly. "Let him go." The second guard raised his weapon, pointing it at its chest. "You dare give orders to us?" Did not move. His hand rested near his sidearm, but he did not draw it. Starting a fight here would make everything worse. He met the guard's eyes and did not look away. Before the situation could escalate, a voice cut through the tension. "What is happening here?" Princess stood at the edge of the crowd, her expression unreadable. The guards immediately lowered their weapons and bowed. "Your Highness, this human interfered with official punishment." Looked at then at the bleeding merchant. What was his crime? "Selling goods without proper permits, Your Highness." "And has he been punished?" "Yes, Your Highness." Nodded slowly. "Then it is finished. Return to your posts." The guards hesitated, clearly wanting to punish as well, but they obeyed. They dragged the merchant away, leaving blood on the station floor. Turned her cold gaze on. You should learn to control yourself, Corporal. Interfering with justice could have consequences. With respect, Your Highness, said quietly, what I witnessed was not justice, it was cruelty. For a moment something flickered in his eyes. Surprise, anger, could not tell, then her expression hardened again. You know nothing of justice, she said. Your people started a war you could not win. You killed thousands of soldiers with your crude weapons and desperate tactics. Now you live with the consequences. That is justice. We defended our homes, replied. We fought for our freedom. If that makes us criminals in your eyes, then I accept that label with pride. Stared at him for a long moment. Then she turned and walked away without another word. Her guards followed, leaving alone in the market. That evening was called to Ambassador Park's office. She sat behind her desk, looking more exhausted than usual. The princess has filed a report about today's incident, she said quietly. Stood at attention. I understand, Ambassador. I will accept whatever punishment is necessary. Park shook her head. There is no punishment, that is what troubles me. According to the report, you showed restraint and prevented a larger conflict. She almost seemed to approve. Frowned, that does not make sense. No, it does not, Park agreed. But these are strange times, Corporal. The princess is not what I expected. She is cruel, yes, but there is something else beneath that cruelty, something I cannot quite identify. She stood and walked to the window, looking out at the station. Be careful around her. She is dangerous, but she is also watching. I do not know what she is looking for, but I suspect she will find it eventually. Nodded, though he did not fully understand. He left the office and returned to his quarters, thinking about the princess's cold eyes and the flicker of emotion he had seen in them. He thought about his father's last words, survive and never forget who you are. He would survive. He would remain true to himself, no matter what the demanded. And somehow he knew that princess would test that resolve more than any enemy he had faced in the war. Outside his window, the stars shone cold and distant, just like the princess herself. But stars could change thought. Even the coldest light could warm, given time and the right conditions. Whether that would happen he did not know, but he would be ready, whatever came next. The first encounter had been difficult, but it was only the beginning. Neither nor knew it yet, but their lives were about to become deeply entangled in ways that would change both of them forever. The explosion tore through the diplomatic wing at 300 hours, was thrown from his bunk by the force of the blast, alarms screaming throughout the station. He grabbed his weapon and rushed into the corridor, his training taking over. Smoke filled the air, and emergency lights flashed red. All units report. His commanding officer's voice crackled through the radio. Corporal East Wing responding, reported. He moved quickly through the smoke, checking rooms and helping evacuate civilians. The explosion had come from the section, which made no sense. Who would be foolish enough to attack the princess? Then he heard it, a distress signal on the frequency. He hesitated for only a moment before changing direction and running toward the collapsed section. Protocol said to wait for forces, but the signal was growing weaker. Someone was trapped. He found her in what remained of a conference room. Princess lay pinned beneath a fallen support beam, her purple robes torn and covered in dust. Her silver skin was cut in several places, dark blue blood seeping from the wounds. She looked up as entered, and her ice-cold eyes filled with a mixture of pain and shock. You, she said weakly, what are you doing here? Knelt beside the beam, assessing the situation. Your distress signal, I heard it. I did not send it for humans, said through gritted teeth. Wait for my guards, they will handle this. Looked up at the cracked ceiling. Dust was falling and he could hear the groan of stressed metal. With respect, Your Highness, we do not have time to wait. This structure will collapse in minutes. I gave you an order. Yes, you did, said calmly. He began clearing debris around the beam. But I am not, and I do not follow orders that will result in unnecessary death. Now, I need you to stay still while I lift this beam. Stared at him, clearly torn between her pride and her survival instinct. Another tremor shook the room, and part of the ceiling fell near them. She made her decision. Fine, do it quickly. Positioned himself and activated the emergency strength enhancers in his suit. He lifted the beam slowly, his muscles straining against the weight. When I say go, pull yourself out. Do not try to stand. Just pull. I understand, said quietly. Go. She pulled herself free, gasping in pain, lowered the beam carefully and immediately moved to her side. Her left leg was badly injured, possibly broken. Without asking permission, he lifted her in his arms and started moving toward the exit. Put me down, protested weakly. This is undignified. Being crushed by a building is also undignified, replied. I prefer this option. They made it through 2 corridors before the ceiling behind them collapsed completely. Kept moving, his breathing steady despite carrying the princess and navigating through smoke and debris. He found an emergency medical station and set her down gently on a bench. I need to check your injuries, he said, already opening a medical kit. Watched him work with an expression he could not read. He cleaned her wounds with practiced efficiency, the same way he had treated wounded soldiers during the war. His hands were steady and gentle, even when she flinched from pain. You have medical training, she observed. All special forces soldiers do, replied. He wrapped her leg carefully. The bone is not broken, but you have a severe sprain. You will need proper medical treatment, but this will help until we reach the medical bay. Why did you come for me? Asked suddenly. After everything I have done to your people, after the way I have treated you, why risk your life? Paused in his work, meeting her eyes. Because it was the right thing to do, that is reason enough. Before could respond, heavy footsteps echoed in the corridor. Her guards appeared, weapons drawn. They saw kneeling beside their princess and immediately raised their guns. Step away from Her Highness, the lead guard commanded. Wait, said, but they were not listening. You are under arrest for the attempted assassination of Princess. You will be executed immediately. Did not move, he looked at the guards calmly. I did not plant the bomb. I rescued the princess from the collapsed section. Lies, the guard moved closer, his weapon aimed at its head. You were found alone with her. You are clearly responsible. Enough, his voice cut through the corridor like a blade. She struggled to stand, leaning against the wall. This human saved my life. He pulled me from beneath a beam and carried me to safety while the structure collapsed around us. He is not the assassin. The guards hesitated, clearly uncomfortable. Your Highness, we must ensure your safety. This human could be. Could be what? Interrupted. A hero, because that is what he is. Lower your weapons, that is an order. Slowly, reluctantly, the guards obeyed. The lead guard approached and helped support. We will take you to the medical bay, Your Highness. Yes, agreed. Then she turned to, you will come as well. I require a full report of what happened. Stood and nodded, as you wish, Your Highness. In the medical bay, doctors tended to injuries while she gave her statement. She described the explosion, being trapped, and its rescue in clear, precise detail. Her guards stood nearby, still suspicious but unable to argue with her testimony. When the doctors finished, turned to her chief of security. I want this human assigned to my personal protection detail. The guard looked shocked. Your Highness, that is highly irregular, a human guarding you. He has already proven more capable than you, said coldly. You were nowhere to be found when I needed help. He was there. He acted without hesitation. I trust him. The words seemed to surprise even herself. She looked at, and for the first time since they met, her expression was not filled with contempt. It was something else. Confusion, perhaps, or the beginning of respect. But Your Highness. My decision is final, interrupted. Corporal will serve as my security liaison. He will coordinate between my guard and human security forces, make the arrangements. The guard bowed stiffly and left. Handmaiden, a young human woman named, approached when the others were not looking. She had kind eyes and spoke in Korean. Thank you, she whispered. The princess does not show it, but she is shaken. You saved her life, and that means more than you know. Nodded but said nothing. He watched from across the room. She sat straight back despite her injuries, her face a mask of composure. But he had seen fear in her eyes when she was trapped. He had felt her tremble when he carried her to safety. Beneath the cold exterior, she was just as vulnerable as anyone else. The investigation revealed that human extremists had planted the bomb. They were members of a radical group opposed to the treaty, willing to risk everything to strike at the. They were captured within hours and executed, despite Ambassador Park's protests. Attended the execution, stood beside her, now officially part of her security detail. He watched her face as the prisoners were killed, searching for any sign of emotion. There was none. She watched without expression, then turned and walked away. But that night, alone in her quarters, sat by the window and looked out at the stars. Her leg ached where the beam had pinned it. Her wounds were healing, but they still hurt. She thought about the human corporal who had risked his life for her. She thought about his steady hands and calm voice. She thought about the way he had looked at her guards without fear. Most of all, she thought about what he had said, because it was the right thing to do. In culture, actions were calculated. Everything had a purpose, a benefit, a strategic value, but it helped her simply because it was right. No calculation, no strategy, just simple, honest decency. It disturbed her more than she wanted to admit. In his own quarters, cleaned his weapon and prepared his uniform for the next day. He had been assigned to protect someone who despised his people. It was a strange situation, but he would do his duty. His father had taught him to honor his commitments, even when they were difficult. He did not know that this was the beginning of something neither he nor the princess could have predicted. The explosion had brought them together in the most unexpected way, and nothing would be the same after this night. The first week as princess security liaison was difficult. The guards made it clear that was not welcome. They excluded him from briefings, ignored his suggestions, and treated him like a servant rather than a fellow soldier. Endured it all with quiet patience. He had faced worse during the war. Tested him constantly. She would change her schedule without warning, forcing him to adapt quickly. She assigned him impossible tasks, like securing entire sections of the station with no advance notice. She watched him work, her cold eyes missing nothing, waiting for him to fail. He never did. On the 8th day, she called him to her office. "You are efficient, Corporal," she said without looking up from her. "More efficient than I expected from a human." "Thank you, Your Highness," replied neutrally. It was not a compliment, said, merely an observation. But there was something in her voice that suggested otherwise. 2 weeks after the explosion, announced an inspection tour of the human colonies under control. Ambassador Park tried to dissuade her, knowing what she would see, but insisted. Was assigned to accompany her. The first colony was on Titan, one of Saturn's moons. As their shuttle descended, saw the settlement through the window. It had once been a thriving mining community. Now it looked like a ghost town. Many buildings were abandoned and the few people visible moved slowly like shadows. Stepped off the shuttle, her face expressionless. The colony administrator, a thin man named Wu, greeted her with a bow. "Your Highness, welcome. We are honored by your visit." "Show me the tribute storage," commanded. They walked through narrow streets lined with prefabricated buildings. Noticed the children watching from doorways. They were too thin, their eyes too large in their small faces. It reminded him of the war, and his jaw tightened. The storage facility was nearly full. Containers of rare minerals, processed metals, and advanced components sat stacked in careful rows. It represented months of labor from the colony's 1,000 residents. "This is acceptable," said, reviewing the inventory. "You have met your quota." "Your Highness," Wu said hesitantly, "may I request a small reduction in next month's quota? Our primary excavator broke down and we lack parts to repair it. We are working with hand tools now and—" "No," interrupted. "The quotas are set by imperial decree. They are not negotiable." "But Your Highness, our people are struggling. The children—" "The children will adapt," said coldly. "As will you all. That is the nature of your situation." Saw the despair in Wu's eyes and had to look away. He understood the administrator's position. The man was trying to keep his people alive, and he was being even the smallest mercy. As they toured the colony, observed everything with clinical detachment. She noted the worn equipment, the inadequate housing, the tired faces of the workers. But she showed no emotion, made no comment. Then they reached the community center. Inside, a group of children sat in a circle while a young woman told them a story. Despite the poverty, despite the hardship, the children were laughing. They shared small portions of food, making sure everyone had something, and listened to the story with bright, curious eyes. Stopped in the doorway watching them, stood beside her waiting. "They have so little," said quietly, "yet they seem content." "Humans are resilient, Your Highness," replied. "We find joy even in difficult circumstances. It is how we survive." One of the children noticed them and ran over. She was perhaps 6 years old, with dark hair and a missing front tooth. "Hello," she said cheerfully. "Are you visiting from space?" Looked down at the child, clearly uncertain how to respond. The girl did not seem afraid, only curious. "Yes," said after a moment, "I am from very far away." "That is amazing," the girl said. "My teacher says there are millions of planets in the galaxy. Have you seen them?" "I have seen many," admitted. "What is your favorite?" The question seemed to surprise. No one had asked her opinion in such a simple, genuine way before. I do not know. I have never considered it." "You should think about it," the girl said seriously. "Everyone should have a favorite place." The teacher, a woman named, hurried over. "I am sorry, Your Highness. She did not mean to disturb you." "She did not disturb me," said, still watching the child. "What is your name?" "I am Jin," the girl said proudly. "And what is your favorite place, Jin?" "Here," the girl said without hesitation. "With my friends and my teacher. We do not have much, but we have each other. That makes it the best place." After the visit, as they returned to the shuttle, was silent. Walked beside her, watching her face. Something had changed in her expression. She looked troubled. "Tell me honestly, Corporal," she said suddenly, "do your people hate me?" Considered the question carefully. "Some do, Your Highness, but not all. Hate requires energy, and many are too tired from survival to maintain it." "And you, do you hate me?" "No, Your Highness." "Why not?" Stopped and turned to face him. "I have taken your freedom. I enforce laws that make your people suffer. I represent everything your people have lost. Why do you not hate me?" Met her eyes steadily. "Because hate is heavy, Your Highness. I choose to carry hope instead. Hope that things will improve. Hope that understanding is possible. Hope that even in the darkest times there is light to be found." Stared at him for a long moment. Then she continued walking without another word. That evening fell ill. The colony's environment had exposed her to a virus that immune systems could not fight. Her doctors tried their treatments, but nothing worked. She grew weaker by the hour, her fever climbing dangerously high. Contacted Dr. Han, a human stationed on Prism 7. "Doctor, can you help?" Dr. Han reviewed symptoms over the video link. "Possibly. I have studied biology. There is a human treatment that might work, but it is experimental. If it fails—" "If we do nothing, she will die anyway," said. "Can you come?" "I will be there in 6 hours." Went to quarters. Her guards tried to stop him, but he pushed past them. She lay on her bed, her silver skin pale and covered in sweat. Her breathing was shallow. "Your Highness," he said quietly, "a human doctor is coming. She might be able to help." His eyes opened slightly. "A human?" "Yes, Dr. Hand specializes in xenobiology. She has studied your people." "Why would a human help me?" whispered. "Because it is the right thing to do," said, echoing his own words from the explosion. "You taught me that actions define us. Let us show you what humanity is capable of." Dr. Han arrived and worked through the night. She used a combination of human antibiotics and medicine, adjusting the treatment based on responses. Stayed nearby, assisting when needed. By morning's fever had broken. She was weak but alive. She opened her eyes and saw Dr. Han checking her vital signs. "You saved my life," said softly. Dr. Han smiled. "I am a doctor. Saving lives is what I do, regardless of species." As recovered over the following days brought her things to help pass the time. He brought her human literature, translated into. He brought recordings of human music. He brought art from Earth, beautiful paintings and sculptures. One evening picked up a book of Korean poetry he had left. She read through it slowly, using a translation device. One poem caught her attention. It spoke of endurance, of finding beauty in hardship, of the strength that comes from community rather than power. She read it 3 times. When came to check on her, she was still holding the book. "This poem," she said, "it speaks of enduring through suffering together. Is this truly how humans think?" "For many of us, yes," said. "We believe that we are stronger together than apart, that sharing burdens makes them lighter, that even in darkness we can create light for each other." "Set down the book. Tell me about your family, Corporal." It was the first personal question she had ever asked him. Sat down and told her about his sister, who taught children in a rebuilt school. He told her about his father Dongwu, who had died defending their city. He told her about the values his parents had taught him: honor, compassion, resilience. Listened without interrupting. When he finished, she was quiet for a long time. "My father expects me to be strong," she finally said. "To show no weakness, no mercy. He says that is how empires are maintained." "And what do you believe, Your Highness?" Looked out the window at the stars. "I am beginning to wonder if strength and cruelty are the same thing. Your people have shown me another kind of strength, the kind that saves enemies, the kind that shares when there is little to share, the kind that finds joy even in suffering." She turned back to him. "Why do you not hate me, Corporal?" "Because I see the person you could become," said quietly, "not just the person you are." Those words stayed with long after he left. The message arrived at dawn. Captain One Park, commander of the human freighter Horizon Dawn, had been arrested for weapons smuggling. Under law, the penalty was immediate execution. Princess would oversee the punishment personally. Heard the news and immediately requested access to the evidence. As security liaison, he had clearance to review security matters. What he found made his blood run cold. The evidence was too perfect. The weapons were found in a sealed cargo container that only Captain Park could access. The manifest showed no record of the container being loaded. Security footage showed Park near the cargo bay at the exact time the weapons were supposedly hidden. It all pointed to his guilt. But had learned to look deeper during his years of military intelligence work. He noticed small details. The timestamp on the security footage was inconsistent with other cameras. The container's seal codes had been by an external source. The weapons themselves were military grade, not something a human smuggler would have access to. Someone had framed Captain Park. Spent 2 days investigating. He traced the cargo container's origin and found it had been in the possession of a merchant named for 3 weeks before being transferred to Park's ship. He accessed financial records and discovered that had lost several contracts to Park's company. The human freighter was faster and cheaper, taking business from shippers. It was a conspiracy designed to eliminate competition and send a message to other humans who dared to succeed in controlled space. Compiled his evidence and requested an urgent meeting with Princess. Her guards tried to turn him away, but he insisted it was a matter of justice. Eventually, they allowed him into her office. Sat behind her desk reviewing documents. She did not look up when he entered. "Corporal, I am very busy. Make this quick." "Your Highness, I have evidence that Captain Park is innocent." Now she looked at him. "That is a serious claim." Placed his on her desk. The evidence against him was fabricated. A merchant named planted the weapons to eliminate a business rival. I have traced the container, analyzed the security footage, and found financial records that prove motive. Captain Park is being framed. Picked up and reviewed the information. Her expression remained neutral, but saw her eyes narrow as she read. She was intelligent enough to recognize the truth when she saw it. "This is compelling," she said slowly, "but the execution is scheduled for tomorrow. The evidence has already been presented to the court. My father himself reviewed the case." Then the court was given false information, said, "Your Highness, an innocent man is about to be executed. Justice requires that we stop this." Set down and stood, walking to the window. She was silent for a long time. When she finally spoke, her voice was troubled. "You do not understand what you are asking. If I overturn this verdict, I will be admitting that justice failed, that we convicted an innocent man based on manufactured evidence. It will make the empire look weak. With respect, Your Highness, executing an innocent man makes you look weak," said quietly. "True strength is admitting mistakes and correcting them. That is what my father taught me." "Your father is dead," said sharply, then immediately looked regretful. "I apologize, that was inappropriate." "He is dead," agreed. "He died defending his principles. He taught me that justice is not about power or appearances. It is about truth. You know the truth now, Your Highness. What will you do with it?" Turned to face him, her ice-blue eyes conflicted. "My advisors will oppose this. They will say I am being influenced by human sentiment, that I am showing favoritism." "Are you?" asked, "or are you simply being just?" Before could answer, her chief advisor, a tall named, entered without knocking. "Your Highness, I heard the human was here. Whatever he is telling you." "He has shown me evidence that Captain Park is innocent," interrupted. His face darkened. "Impossible, the evidence against Park is clear." "This evidence is clearer," said, handing him barely glanced at it. "This proves nothing. Humans are clever with deception. This is obviously an attempt to save one of their own." "Look at the data," commanded. "I do not need to look at it," said firmly. "Your Highness, you must proceed with the execution. Your father expects it. The Empire expects it. If you show mercy to a human, you will be seen as weak. Other humans will believe they can challenge our authority." "And if I execute an innocent man, what will I be?" asked. "You will be strong," said. "You will be a true, Your Highness, please, do not let this human confuse you. Remember your duty." Looked at, then at the evidence on her desk. Could see the struggle in her eyes. This was the moment that would define her. She could maintain the Empire's appearance of strength by committing an injustice, or she could risk her position by standing for truth. "Leave me," said quietly. "Both of you, I need to think." Bowed stiffly and left. Remained for a moment. "Your Highness, whatever you decide, I want you to know something. These past weeks, working with you, I have seen you change. I have seen you question things you once accepted without thought. That takes courage. Real courage. Not the false courage of maintaining appearances, but the true courage of facing difficult truths." "And if I make the wrong choice?" asked. "Then you will learn from it," said. "That is all any of us can do. But I believe you already know what the right choice is. You just have to be brave enough to make it." He left her alone with her thoughts. The next day, thousands gathered at the central plaza of Prism 7 for the execution. Captain Park stood on the platform, his hands bound, his face calm despite his approaching death. Ambassador Park stood in the crowd, tears streaming down her face. She had fought desperately to save him, but law was absolute. Princess arrived precisely on time, her guards flanking her. She wore formal robes of judgment, deep purple with silver trim. She climbed the steps to the platform and faced the crowd. "I have reviewed the case against Captain One Park," she announced, her voice carrying across the silent plaza. The evidence presented showed clear guilt. However, upon further investigation, I have discovered that this evidence was fabricated. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Standing near the platform looked furious. Continued, "Captain Park is innocent. The true criminal is Merchant, who planted weapons on Park's ship to eliminate a business competitor. I have ordered his immediate arrest." The crowd erupted in shock and confusion. Officials shouted protests. Human civilians stood frozen, unable to believe what they were hearing. Raised her hand for silence. "I know this decision will be controversial. I know some will see it as weakness. But I have learned something important from the humans I have observed. True strength is not in crushing the weak or maintaining false narratives. True strength is in protecting the truth, no matter who it offends or what it costs." She turned to Captain Park. "You are free. I apologize on behalf of the Empire for this injustice." The guards released Park's bonds. He stood there, clearly stunned, then bowed deeply to, "Thank you, Your Highness. You have given me my life." "Thank the corporal," said, glancing at, who stood at the edge of the platform. "He is the one who discovered the truth." The consequences came swiftly. That evening received a message from her father, the Emperor. His words were brief and cold. "Return to the immediately. Your assignment is terminated." Packed her belongings in silence. Her handmaiden helped her, tears in her eyes. "Your Highness, I am sorry. You did the right thing." "Did I?" asked quietly. "I have lost my position, my father's trust. Perhaps was right, perhaps I was weak." "No," said a voice from the doorway, stood there holding something wrapped in cloth. "You were strong, stronger than anyone I have ever known." He stepped into the room and unwrapped the cloth, revealing a beautiful blade. It was a traditional Korean sword, passed down through his family for generations. "This belonged to my father. He carried it as a symbol of honor and duty. I want you to have it." "I cannot accept this," protested. "It is too valuable." "You showed me what honor truly means," said. "You risked everything to do what was right. That deserves recognition." He held out the sword. "Among humans, when you give someone a blade, it means you trust them. It means you believe in them." Took the sword with trembling hands. "I do not know what awaits me at home. My father is furious. I may never return to human space." "Then take this memory with you," said. "Remember that you stood for justice, that you chose truth over convenience, that you became more than what was expected of you." Looked at the blade, then at, "When I first met you, I thought humans were beneath me. I was wrong about so many things. You have taught me more than I ever expected to learn. You have shown me what it means to have principles, what it means to be truly strong." "And you have shown me that people can change," replied. "That even the coldest hearts can warm. That is a gift I will always treasure." They stood in silence for a moment, two people from different worlds who had found unexpected understanding. "I will return," said quietly. "I do not know when or how, but I will return. And when I do, things will be different, I promise you that." "I believe you," said, and he meant it. 6 months passed like a long, cold winter. After left, conditions for humans grew worse. A faction took control of the occupation forces. The new overseer, Commander Vex, made early cruelty seem gentle by comparison. Forced labor camps were established. Human culture was actively suppressed. Books were burned. Art was destroyed. Languages other than were forbidden in public. Worked quietly against the oppression. He helped smuggle food to struggling families. He created safe routes for people trying to escape the worst abuses. He documented the crimes being committed, hoping someone would eventually hold the accountable. But hope was becoming harder to maintain. Then, on a cold morning in March, a ship appeared in orbit around Prism 7. But it was not a military vessel. It was a diplomatic courier, and it carried Princess. Ambassador Park received her in the embassy, with present as security. Looked different. She still wore her purple robes, but there was a hardness in her eyes that had not been there before. She had fought battles of her own in the court. "Your Highness," Ambassador Park said carefully, "we did not expect to see you again." "I have spent 6 months arguing with the Imperial Council," said, "presenting evidence, making my case, challenging centuries of policy. They did not want to listen, but then something happened that changed everything." She activated a holographic display. It showed a star map with a massive fleet of unknown ships entering space from beyond the galaxy's edge. The Collective. They are an extragalactic invasion force. 3 weeks ago, they destroyed an entire colony world. 5 million dead in a matter of hours. Ambassador Park went pale. "Dear God. My people have been fighting them for 2 weeks," continued. "We are losing. Their technology is more advanced than ours. Their tactics are brutal and efficient. Our traditional military strategies are failing." She looked directly at, "We need help. We need humanity." The words hung in the air like a bomb waiting to explode. After everything that had done to humanity, they were asking for help. "Why should we help you?" Ambassador Park asked, her voice tight with controlled anger. "After the camps, after the executions, after the way you have treated us." "Because they will not stop with us," said quietly. "Once they destroy the Empire, they will come for Earth, for all human colonies, for every living being in this galaxy. This is not just our war, it is everyone's war. And you want us to fight for you," spoke for the first time, "to die protecting the empire that enslaved us." "No," said, meeting his eyes. "I want you to fight with us, as equals, as partners. I have a proposal from a faction within the Imperial Council. If humanity agrees to join a defensive alliance, the treaty will be rewritten. No more tribute, no more occupation, full independence for Earth and all human colonies, equal status within the galactic community." "Why should we trust this?" Ambassador Park demanded. Pulled out a document and placed it on the table. It bore the seal of the Emperor. "This is a binding treaty, signed by my father. It is real. The question is whether humanity is willing to take this chance." Ambassador Park looked at, "Corporal, you know the princess better than anyone. What do you think?" Studied's face. He saw exhaustion there and determination and something else. Sincerity. She believed in what she was offering. "I think," he said slowly, "that this is the opportunity we have been waiting for. But we need guarantees. We need to see the treaty enforced immediately, not after the war is won." "Agreed," said. "I will command the joint forces personally. I want you as my second-in-command, Corporal." The room fell silent. A human officer commanding alongside a princess. It was unthinkable. It was revolutionary. "I need time to consider this," Ambassador Park said. "You have 12 hours," replied. "After that, I return to the front lines with or without human support." The debates raged through the human leadership. Some wanted revenge, not alliance. Others saw the practical necessity. Many simply did not trust regardless of what papers they signed. Spoke at the council meeting. "I understand your doubts. I share them. But I have seen Princess change from our enemy into someone who risked everything to do what was right. If she can change, maybe the Empire can change too. And if we do not fight together, we will die separately." In the end, the vote was close, but humanity agreed to the alliance. The joint military force assembled on Prism 7. Human soldiers stood alongside warriors, an impossible sight just months before, wore a new uniform that combined elements of both cultures. He stood at side as she addressed the troops. "We have been enemies," said, her voice carrying across the assembly. We have hurt each other, killed each other, hated each other, but today we must become something new. Today we must become allies. They do not care about our past conflicts. They will kill us all equally. Our only chance is to stand together." The troops were silent, uncertain, then stepped forward. "The princess is right," he said. "We cannot change the past, but we can decide our future. I have fought. I have lost people I loved to weapons, but I have also seen that change is possible. I have seen honor and courage from someone I once considered only an enemy. If we can find common ground, maybe we have a chance." Slowly, cautiously, human and soldiers began to mix. It was not friendship, not yet, but it was the beginning of something. The first test came sooner than anyone expected. A border colony called New Haven, home to both human and settlers, sent a distress call. They were attacking, and led the joint force to its defense. They arrived to find the colony under siege. Fighters swarmed through the sky like metal locusts. Their ground forces were advancing on the civilian shelters. The colony's defenses were failing. "Forces, establish a defensive perimeter," commanded. "Use your shields to protect the shelters." Human forces, guerrilla tactics, ordered. "Hit them from unexpected angles, use the terrain." The battle was chaos. Energy shields deflected the worst of the weapons, creating safe zones. Human soldiers used improvised explosives and ambush tactics to disrupt enemy formations. Snipers provided covering fire while human engineers sabotaged equipment. Found himself fighting alongside a warrior named. They defended a shelter entrance together, their different fighting styles complementing each other. When soldiers broke through, energy blade combined with tactical shooting to drive them back. "You fight well, human," said, breathing hard. "So do you," replied, for a. They shared a brief, exhausted smile. It was a small moment, but it meant everything. On the command deck, coordinated the defense with ruthless efficiency. She had learned from watching humans. When a heavy cruiser targeted the main shelter, she ordered an unconventional response. All fighters converge on the cruiser. Human teams prepare magnetic charges. Teams drop shields and divert power to weapons. "We are going to board that ship." "That is suicide," her captain protested. "It is necessary," said. "Corporal, can your people do this?" His voice came through the comm. "We were born for this kind of insane plan. Let us show you how humans board enemy vessels." What followed was a masterpiece of coordinated chaos. Human soldiers used magnetic charges to attach to the cruiser's hull while fighters provided cover. They cut through the armor with plasma torches and stormed inside. Warriors teleported directly into the ship's command center, using their superior technology to disable shields from within. Together, they captured the cruiser in 20 minutes. The forces, seeing their command ship taken, retreated in disorder. The colony was saved. 5,000 lives, human and were preserved because two species learned to fight as one. In the aftermath, as medics treated the wounded and engineers repaired damaged defenses and stood together on the colony walls. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of purple and gold. "We did it," said quietly. "We actually worked together." "It is a start," agreed. "A small start, but a start." "I brought you something," said. She pulled out the sword he had given her 6 months ago. "You told me to remember what I stood for. I carried this into every meeting with the council. Every time they said humans were not worth saving, I looked at this blade and remembered your father's honor. Your honor. It gave me strength." "Keep it," said. "You have earned it." "No," insisted. "It belongs with you, but I want you to add something to it." She showed him a small engraving she had made on the blade. It was a symbol of trust, intertwined with a Korean character for hope. "We are writing a new story," she said. "One where enemies become allies, where hatred becomes understanding, where two peoples learn to stand together. This blade is the symbol of that story." Accepted the sword, feeling the weight of its meaning. When I first met you, you called humans primitives, barely evolved. I was wrong about everything, said. You taught me what true civilization means. It is not about technology or power. It is about honor, compassion, the courage to change. Humanity has all of those things. My people need to learn them. Over the following months, the alliance grew stronger. More battles were fought and won. Human ingenuity combined with technology created new tactics that could not counter. More importantly, human and soldiers began to trust each other. They shared meals, told stories, mourned their dead together. The war was far from over, but the outcome was no longer certain. The had expected a divided galaxy, easy to conquer. Instead, they found unity forged in the fire of mutual respect. On the first anniversary of the Alliance, a memorial was built on Prism 7. It honored both human and casualties, making no distinction between them. At the dedication ceremony, and stood before the assembled crowd. I rejected humanity because I feared what acknowledging your worth would mean, said. It meant admitting we were wrong, admitting that our empire was built on injustice. That was a difficult truth to face, but this soldier helped me find the courage to face it. She gestured too. He trusted me when I had given him no reason to trust. He showed me mercy when I had shown none. He taught me that strength and kindness are not opposites. Stepped forward, and the princess taught me that people can change, that even the deepest prejudices can be overcome. That peace is possible if we are brave enough to build it. We came from different worlds with different cultures, different values, but we found common ground. We found that we both want the same things: safety for our families, dignity for our people, and hope for our future. In the crowd, human and soldiers stood side by side. Children of both species played together near the memorial. Dr. Han treated patients alongside human ones. Captain One Park commanded a mixed-species trade fleet. The impossible had become reality. As the ceremony ended and people dispersed and remained at the memorial, new recruits trained in the distance, their instructors teaching them to fight as unified teams rather than separate forces. Do you think this will last? Asked. After the war ends, will our people remember what we built here? I do not know, admitted. But I know this: you and I will remember, and we will make sure others remember too. We will tell the story of how an alien princess rejected humanity until a single soldier gained her trust, and how that trust changed everything. Smiled, a real, genuine smile that reached her ice-blue eyes and warmed them. That is a good story. Perhaps it will inspire others. Perhaps it already has, said, watching the mixed troops training together. Look at them. A year ago that would have been impossible. Now it is normal. That is the power of what we started. They stood together in comfortable silence. Two leaders who had become friends. Two former enemies who had become the foundation of a new future. The war continued, and challenges remained, but for the first time in either of their lives, they had genuine hope that the galaxy could be better than it was. And that hope, forged in trust and tempered by courage, was worth fighting for.